guys, welcome to or welcome back to my channel. We are back for what is now clearly a bi-weekly review for Insecure. So we're going to be talking about episodes 7 and 8, and I hope I can keep it as short as possible, but let's do this because we only have 2 more episodes to go before the big season finale. So episode 7 was all about the girls, which I really enjoyed. So it started out like everyone was coming over Issa's house because they're meant to be going on a girls' weekend trip to some sort of spa and then dinner afterwards. But long story short, Issa got a call. The spa was flooded, and so they decided to stay at her place, and it was all vibes. You know, like while being there, Issa basically reveals to the group that her and Nathan are not in a great space, as well as Molly gets a work call and she's all ooh, and flirting. So they start asking her questions about Torian, and we find out that, you know, she actually is thinking like maybe this is something that could work, and she likes like how they vibe and correspond with each other. So I should say all these questions actually started as a part of a game. It's like, you know, they like rapid fire questions, but they're picking the questions from a hat. So then the game continues, and the next question that was asked was, you know, what's one thing that you would change? And of course, Issa says that for her, she thinks that she would have found what she wanted to do like professionally earlier. And then, of course, Tiffany is fake perfect, so there's nothing she would change. And Kelly was just like, you know, she found clarity, and that's something that obviously she wished had happened earlier, but she's good where she's at right now. So then Issa asks, which one of your exes would you, you know, want to sleep with? Well, that's the question she picked out. And she was just like, which one of y'all put this in here? And you know, everyone, I guess she thought it was going to be maybe Lawrence or someone else from before, like off camera, who we didn't know about when they went to school. But turns out everyone thinks that Daniel is her hottest ex. And I mean, Kelly was with it. She was ready to call him or DM him and everything. So because of the exes question, obviously Issa started thinking about her exes. So in the midst of all that, she says like, you know, she saw Lawrence at the hospital. So she's telling the girls this because, of course, we know this already. And she just says, like, she has this fake impression that they're oh so happy and that they're back together. And I think that's genuinely what she thinks. So Kelly was just letting her know, like, they came to Simone's B-Day party, which is Tiffany's baby, and they weren't in a good space. And the fact that they made a scene and obviously just wasn't working. And I guess that kind of gave her like a reality check, like, you know, maybe it's not what you think, like everything that glitters isn't gold. And then Molly just basically said, you made the smart choice. And Tiffany said, who's to say that that's the smart choice? Because sometimes the choice that's right for you is not necessarily the choice that's deemed smart by everyone else. So I think that resonated with Issa because we've all been there, you know, and you're like, okay, people will probably judge me for this, but this is what would make me happy. And then after that, they switched gears, and Tiffany just blurted out that like her and Derek are gonna be moving. Like he got a job offer, I think she said in Detroit, and they were genuinely thinking about moving. So of course the vibe shift because everyone was just like, oh my God, like, you know, that's like news. And she's worried that all my friends are here. What if I have another baby and it's another situation and I get depressed and you guys aren't there? And they just consoled her and let her know like they're friends, like they're gonna get on a flight and be there for her. It doesn't matter where she is. And all this is happening while they decided to go get ready for the reservation. But after Tiffany dropped that bomb and that girls moment and bonding, they just decided that they were just gonna stay in and have a good old time and not even bother go to dinner. Simultaneously, we're seeing Lawrence, who went over to Condola's house because he had baby Elijah for the weekend. He drops the baby off, and you know, it seems like they really are trying to be better parents and do better for this baby because obviously before he would have just dropped the baby off and left, but she had like something that needed to be arranged, I think some shelves or something, and he basically offered to stay and help her. I really just don't even want these two to reconcile, but I like the fact that they're co-parenting better. So they had this moment where they sat down really and kind of just had a heart to heart and acknowledged the fact that that was messed up what I asked you to do in terms of, asking her to have an abortion. And then she shared that there was a point where she realized like things weren't going to work out between the two of them, where she actually considered doing it because she obviously was not in a good place. Who wants to be pregnant for someone and the relationship it has ended and you're pregnant. So I thought it was really nice that they had such a, what I want to say, realistic but heart to heart moment. I'm just looking at my notes. She says to him that, I just genuinely want you to be happy. Like she doesn't want him to resent her for the fact that she chose to have the baby and obviously make it feel like now I've put you in this position where you're stuck. And he had to move back to LA because realistically flying back and forth was not working out. And so he said, you know what, that's not even the case. I had a hand in this too and I'm just owning up to it. And he just says, I want you to be genuinely happy as well. So that was really, really nice. A nice moment between the two of them. So back to the girls. Like I said, they decided to stay in. So it's a PJ party, like staying, like a girls sleepover. Everyone's in PJs and it's really just good vibes. They're playing music, having a good old time, and it was just such a beautiful scene to see. Like I feel like it was just a lovely montage, seeing like the friendship growth from season 1 till now. It's like you can genuinely feel that the season is coming to an end. Said the girls are having the time of their lives, and so Issa is drunk off her ass and decides that she wants to drunk text Torian for Molly, and they started deciding like what the text should be. And after that was sent, now she took up the phone and she was just like, oh, she's gonna call Lawrence, but of course she's drunk, so Molly is just like, no, we're not gonna do that, and she's insisting. So Molly was like, friend, this is some of the inconsistency that Nathan mentioned, because of course she told them that Nathan told her that she was inconsistent, and she was just like, yeah, this is what he means, like, don't do that. I promise if you feel the same way in the morning, I'll give you the phone and I'll allow you to make the call. So of course the morning comes and everybody leaves and Issa is sober. Nathan actually sent her a text. So she saw the text in the morning that basically he wants to talk, because remember, they're not in a good way after everything that has happened between them, and him not even saying the I love yous back. So they have the chat and he just explains that it's not that he doesn't love her, it's just that things have been so up and down with them that he didn't necessarily want to say it back in such a way. Like, it's not that he doesn't feel it. Long story short, he eventually said that he loved her. And of course, after having such a heart-to-heart moment and figuring out themselves and both deciding that they love each other and want to be together, Lawrence calls her back, because that's what people do when you leave a missed call. And of course, like Molly said, it's morning, Issa has sobered up and she did not pick up the call. And that's where that episode ends. So what happens in episode 8? We're just gonna go straight over into it. So episode 8 actually starts with Issa and Nathan in the bed having pillow talk. They're at Issa's house, and they get up, they're getting ready for the morning, they're in the bathroom together, and I think Nathan said something like, is that my shirt? Because Issa was wearing his shirt. And then she was like, yeah, of course, but it's obviously my shirt now because, it's always here, which goes into a conversation about the fact that his stuff is always there. And then he eventually was like, yeah, that's true. What do you think about us moving in together? Like, it would save us money on rent, and obviously they're in love, or so they say. So I guess it would work. And then he says, why, let's just think about it. And then she says, okay, she'll think about it. So, I don't even know. I feel like these guys are just kind of going with the motion. Like, they're doing what they feel like they're supposed to be doing. But I'm not feeling like they're even at the stage where they should be talking about moving in. They're definitely in a stage where I feel like they should be dating and getting to know each other without all this extra stuff. But, I don't know. People move at their own pace for relationships. So we're now at the next scene, which is Issa's event. Remember that big event that she tried to get the anthropology. Yeah, she tried to get the group called Anthology Collective. So the block event is on, and that group is now at the showcase and they're showing their clothes and stuff. So all in all, things are really looking up for Issa. I mean, coming from where she's coming from, this event looked bigger than the last one. Her sponsor is happy he was there. He was commending her on like putting everything together and just basically saying like it's a dope thing. So she goes over to Nathan because he's there showing his support, and he's there with his cousin, which I thought was really nice that obviously they made up, because remember earlier in the season things did not end so well with them. And so she says, let me take a picture with you of you guys, just act natural. It was the most awkward pose I think I've seen in a very long time, and very, very much Y2K. Like, who who does this still? But okay, go off, Nathan. Do you? And then after, I don't know, Issa kind of was just like, oh, we're a power couple, something to that regard. He came over, he kissed her, and they were just doing a lot. Just very much showing us that they're clearly a couple. They're clearly made up. Like, they wanted us to know because they kiss and they're just like, oh, I love you too. And I'm just like, oh, could somebody just interrupt this? And thank God, because Molly and Kelly came over, and of course, being the friends they were like, I love you. And what did Kelly called him? Yellownish, like, yellownin. It was yellownin. And I was like, only Kelly would say some shit like that. But it was funny. Basically, they were just like making fun of her, like, how friends do when you have a new boo. And of course, Molly reveals Issa says, let me show you all around because you haven't seen like the exhibitions and stuff. So while they're walking around, we find out that Molly actually went on a first date with Torian, which I think, yes, please. And I wish for them to show us their on-screen dates. And she's thinking about possibly, I think they're meaning to go on a second date, like a real date. But she was just mentioning in the process that it's something that she's actually looking forward to, because she's about to go spend the day with her parents to sort out that whole will beneficiary situation with Kelly. And so, she's looking forward to the date. So Issa and her assistant have some boxes and they're heading to the car. And who do we see leaned up against another car? It's Crenshaw. So she says, what is he doing here? They go over there because, of course, they thought he was about to start some mess. And it turns out he's apologizing because, he realizes that, there's just a lot of work that goes into this. He tried to throw an event for himself, and he's realizing like shit is not easy. He needed license, permit. It's not easy to please everyone. And so he apologizes, which I felt like was super half-assed, because he didn't actually say I was wrong for like the way I responded and how I came off. And then he just went into wanting to team up because her show really gave him momentum, and she sees what he's doing out here, and she's able to like rent places. She already has a sponsor. So all I heard was basically, you can't pull this off on your own, and you want to use her pull and her hypeness, her plugs to get what you want. And I just didn't think it was a good idea, but for whatever reason, she said she would think about it, and then he left. So Issa's back home, and Issa being Issa, she's in the bathroom, looking in the bathroom mirror, and then she gets an email from NBW with I guess like the contract or the specifications of their collaboration that's upcoming. And she was just like, blah, blah, blah. She wants to see what that money is about. So she sees the figure, and she's clearly happy because she was just like stacks on stacks on stacks. She was just like so happy. And then she goes into this Issa rapping phase where she normally does in the mirror. She meets up with her sponsor to give him like a walkthrough of the new venue that she has picked out. And it starts, she's looking real Issa, top and jeans and her hair, her natural hair back. And then she walks through the doors, and there's a transition into just looking like a boss bitch, like a full suit, hair sleeked back, long ponytail. It's a whole different vibe that it's giving. It's giving Issa 5 years from now. But it was actually a 2-year jump into the future, and things are doing really well. Her sponsor's great. She's working with the NBW. She's giving talks, which is basically like, like these TED Talk interviews. Like, I was just like, what is going on? I was a little bit confused. Issa's taking first class flights. And who does she see when she look over? Ty Dolla $ign, who mentions that he likes to see us flying first class and doing big things. And she's just like, yeah. And then she asked him like, what is he heading back to LA for? Because obviously the flight is going in the same place, back to LA. And then he says, to work with this artist Crenshaw. And that's when we see a moment where her face changes, and she goes, oh, Crenshaw, that's cool. It's kind of like this is the life I'm choosing, but then that's the life I missed out on. So now Crenshaw is this big star and whatever. And then we transition back to the present day, and that's when we kind of realize, like, oh, that was like her own vision of what life could be if she chooses to stay with the NBW company and, you know, take that route. Oh, also, I forgot, in that vision, she is with Nathan. And Nathan looks like a kept man because he was in the house. Issa comes home, outfit on fleek. The house is popping, okay? It looks clean, it looks modern, it looks like they got some shmoney, okay? And Nathan looks nice. He had on like a black turtleneck, a little necklace. Like they looked good. And then, you know, she comes home and then they just get to it. And I was like, wow, this is looking like a nice life. You know what I mean? Anyway, so now we're back in the present, and Issa gets a location pin in a message from Crenshaw. He didn't say nothing, he just sent a pin. So she's just like, what is this? And then we transition to the other scene, which is Molly, her parents, and her two brothers and Kelly sitting down in her parents' house, and they're finally trying to sort out this will and beneficiary issue that she's been trying to get her parents to do for so long, but they have not been taking it seriously. So I really did like that Molly took the reins on this, because left up to her parents, they clearly would not have done anything. And I found that for such a heavy topic, because it was definitely a heavy scene, but very realistic, because for some reason, Black people, I don't want to generalize, but in the Black community, it tends not to be normal to sort out things like this. You just die and then just leave everything in just shit. You know, I don't know why, because it's so easy to get a will done. So that's what Kelly was really there for, to kind of help with the formality and just kind of be like, you know, it's not as difficult as you think it is. It's not too late to open a savings account and so on. And I actually found her to be great comedic relief, because the father was taking things super hard. He was just like, you know, after 50 years of working, he has nothing to show for it. And that's why he didn't even want to do the will. It's just kind of showing him that he doesn't have much. He also had to take out, I think, money from the 401k to help with the mom's illness. And so there's nothing much left. And Molly just reassured him that that's okay. You've given us love. And even if it's not a lot, it's just for us to know that once you guys pass on, which is obviously inevitable, that we know what goes where and there are no problems and infighting. And so he was reluctant. And then Kelly was just kind of good vibes for the mom and making jokes. So the mom was like laughing, and she was taking it a bit lighter. The brothers, for me, were of no help, which is just sad. One of them couldn't even stay still. Like, it's almost like he was so uncomfortable. He was finding every reason to leave the room. He went to make tea. There was no tea. Then he was like, I'm going to the shop. And I was just like, sit down, sir. Sit down. You know, like he was just all over the place. So Issa finally goes to the location that Crenshaw sent, and it's like a little coffee shop, and then they're walking while talking, and then she says to him, you know what, I just came to let you know in person that I don't really think it's a good idea to work together. And I think Crenshaw is just a good talker, as in he knows like how to get people to agree to things. Because for me, one, I agree with her, not because, oh, he was angry about something, but for me, it's the way he dealt with it. And I think that's a good indication that if you work with him and something goes wrong, he's going to blow up the spot. He tried to ruin her reputation. And I just feel like someone like that, I would not want to work with in future. Regardless of the apologies, I'll accept it. But anyways, that's my feelings. But he really made a good argument for himself and was kind of like talking to her about like the possibilities and saying like, oh, he has this venue and this and that and that. Of course, while he's talking, it sends Issa into just another vision of the possibilities if she should stick with Crenshaw, and they kind of work on these, you know, community projects together. So we are now into this new lifestyle where she's doing well. She's professional just as she was in the other vision. They're working together. They have this massive exhibition space that they bought. She is now being called, I think she went to get ice cream and the man called her Mrs. Woods. So I think she's married to Nathan now, because she also had on a wedding band. And she goes home and he's there. The only thing is the house is not as lavish as it was in the other vision, because of course she was an entrepreneur and she's doing community projects. So Nathan says, you know, we had to make sacrifices, but life is still good. So she's, you know, at the house, she's going into the bathroom. She picks up something and Nathan is there talking in the background. She goes into the bathroom, she comes out, and the same voice that we're hearing, like it's the same conversation, but the voice changes. And then Lawrence comes out of the other side of the house and Nathan damn near vanishes, you know? And so Ether kind of does this, and I mean, we're watching and we do this too because we're just like, what is going on? And Lawrence comes up to her and says something about, I'm glad you made the decision that made you happy, even though you had so many other choices, and leans in for the kiss. And she just starts screaming. And of course, that snaps her back to reality. She's actually at her car leaving the venue where she met up with Crenshaw. And she's just like, I guess, stunned because she has convinced herself that she doesn't miss Lawrence or that she's making the right decision. And of course, that she's in love with Nathan. But if you're thinking about your future and you're still seeing Lawrence, it means that obviously you're not settled on Nathan. Oh, I just checked my notes. I missed some stuff. So I also forgot to mention that in the vision, she lives in Inglewood. Whereas in the other vision, she was living in West Hollywood to be closer to MBW. So she stayed in Inglewood, but this time while she was getting the ice cream, a bus passed with an advert with Ty Dolla $ign as the endorser. I don't know why Ty Dolla $ign is all up in her future. But it was an NBW ad, which is the other company that she would be working with the only company she would have been working with, her sponsors. And so she had this look on her face, like by choosing the opportunity with Crenshaw, she missed out on like the big opportunity of NBW. So it's kind of like an either or thing. It got a bit ridiculous because she even got an award from the city and Tyra Banks was giving it to her. So I guess Tyra Banks was the mayor or something. They were presenting her with the key to the city for her contributions to the community through her events. So anyway, now we're back to Molly, who is leaving her parents' house after Kelly leaves and everything's sorted. And she just says, Dad, I'm really glad that we've done this and it's over. And it looked like everything was good until Molly gets to the car. And I guess all the feelings of, being the backbone for the day, being the strong one and kind of carrying the emotions of her parents and her brothers and everything. So she breaks down when she gets to the car. And I feel like it wasn't even like a long breakdown. She starts crying and then she gets a call. And it's Torian because he's talking about possibly go getting some Thai and whatever, because remember, they were meant to go out on a date. But she is so winded that she eventually says, because he says, are you going to flake on me? And she was like, no. And then eventually she was like, you know what? I was really looking forward to tonight, but I just feel like I really would not be great company. And then she just tells him that she had a long day with her parents and he understood. And then she sounded surprised. She was like, really? And I was just like, yes, girl, what you mean, really? Like, what is the matter? Like, who have you been dealing with? He should understand, but he did, thankfully. And I was really happy that he did. And, she went home. She watched a movie. Issa called her up and, they exchanged, stories about their day. So she tells Issa what happened. And then Issa shares like her doubts that she's been having, the feelings that she's been having, and the fact that, it's kind of like she's at a crossroads and she needs to make the right decision so she can have the right future. So Molly reassures her and lets her know that you already know what to do. You just kind of need to take the plunge and go with it because you're doing really well for yourself. Issa gets off the phone and the doorbell rings and Molly goes to the doorbell and it's actually like a food delivery service with wings and wine. And she's just like, I didn't order that. And they were like, Molly? And she was like, yeah. And they were like, well, it's for you. They gave it to her. And of course, Torian sent a message to say that, wings and wine always makes, I think something along the lines of making like someone feel better or a sad day feel better. And I thought it was just so sweet. And girl, he would have had me right there because I love me some wings and wine. Like, that's my Friday evening snack. And just the thoughtfulness of it. Like, okay, we didn't get to go out, but, send her some comfort food. And I thought that was really sweet. And I appreciate seeing the personal growth that Molly has done and her reaping the rewards of it because I feel like Torian matches her, like he's her equal and he's just sensitive enough or emotionally aware to be opposite of her but still complimenting her. And Issa is growing professionally, but she's still Issa. She's still all over the place. She's still, oftentimes when you watch a show and something starts to change, it's almost like the character miraculously changes personality and is now organized and put together. I like that the way it's written, they're still themselves, but they're growing. which is so realistic and true to real life. So then we see a bathroom scene with Issa again, where she passes the mirror and she's having a full-blown debate with herself about her seeing Lawrence in her vision, and herself in the mirror is just like, obviously you're not over him, and she's having like a back and forth, like, clearly we are, and it's up to you, you're the reason why. And I'm just like, Issa, obviously if you're seeing him, it means that you have unresolved feelings, and I wish she would just acknowledge that. And the sad part about this is I feel like people not dealing with their unresolved emotions, she's gonna end up hurting Nathan. And while he's not my favorite person for her, I do like his character, and I just don't think he deserves to be hurt right now. So Issa is at home. Nathan comes home and he has dinner, and of course he's talking to her like about his, I think he was talking about his day or something, and he went into like another room, and it's like while he's in there the voice changes again, and obviously it changes to Lawrence's voice, and it's like she's so startled by that the room almost starts to shake, because she's anticipating Lawrence coming out towards her again, or her seeing Lawrence. But Nathan actually came out, and so he was just looking at her like, you all right? And she was like, I think he said, are you all right, or what's going on? And she was just like, nothing. And then obviously we know something is wrong, but he's unaware, and then that's where the episode ends. So I don't know, guys, I feel like the season is kind of dragging. It's dragging like it's not about to end. I felt like by now we would have gotten some closure on some other things, and we would have started wrapping up. I love the show, but I feel like I'm not sure if we're gonna get all the answers to our questions in 2 more episodes, because that's just like an hour left, because 2 episodes are like 28 minutes each, you know, so roughly an hour left. But it was a good 2 episodes, and I just want you to share your thoughts about like, how do you feel about Issa kind of just stringing Nathan along, going, and I feel like she's doing it in the worst way. She went the extra mile to say she loves him. They're talking about moving in and all these things. It's one thing to date someone while liking somebody else, but I feel like she's making him feel like she wants something serious, and I'm just really sad for him, because I know it's not gonna end well. I don't know, and I'm a little worried she's getting her hopes up about being with Lawrence, when it seems like Lawrence and Condola, I'm not just getting co-parenting vibes. I'm getting, we're starting to resolve some of the issues that were in our relationship vibes, and might actually try being together. And I just hope that by the time she makes the decision to be with Lawrence, that he's not already back with Condola. But those are my thoughts. Share your thoughts with me down below about everyone, including Molly and Torian, which I'm so happy that she's in a better place. And until next week.